Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another informative video. Today I'm going to be walking you through just two different ways that you can get your first deal in the cheapest way possible. There's obviously a ton of marketing streams out there that you can choose, but I've had a lot of people hit me up in the DMs asking, how do I get my first deal? Where do I start? And today, this is the perfect video for you so you can get your first deal in wholesale real estate. With that said, let's get right into it. So there's basically two ways you can get your first deal. For me, these are easily the cheapest ways. You don't have to invest a lot of money to see a return. It might not be the quickest way that you can go out and find a deal. That just really depends on how good of a marketer you are and how good you talk to people and how you can close. That's something I can't predict, but these are the two ways that you guys can go ahead and close a deal probably within the next 30 days. So the first one is door knocking, and this is something that it's not a way that I got my first deal, but it's something that I've implemented into my business model, and I'll make another whole video about that, of what I'm currently doing, but that's door knocking. And door knocking is probably the dirt cheapest way to go out there and get a deal. Again, you gotta have thick skin to do it, but a lot of you might be saying, okay, I know door knocking, but how do you door knock in a way where it's cheap, but you're reaching people effectively? And that's through door hangers. So for me, I went on to vistaprint.com. I think they had like a 50% sale going on. So if you're not on their email subscriber list, I recommend you get with Vistaprint, because there's a lot of discounts, and I'm not sure if you always need to be on their mailing list, but I know they give a lot more discounts rather than if you just go on their website and get lucky. I'd order a couple thousand. For me, I built out a team that do door knockers, so I ordered them. I'll put it up right here so you guys can go ahead and see what mine looks like. But I ordered 10,000 of these, and I think it was a little bit with shipping, expedited shipping actually, a little bit over or less than $400, a little bit more, right around that range, but that's super cheap. You obviously don't need that many if it's just for you, but as I said, I've built a big team. For you, I'd order maybe 1,000 or 2,000 or 2,500 of them. Should they run you maybe a little bit over $100, and it really helps with your door knocking game because you can't predict if everybody's gonna be home, but door knocking is one of those things where you're getting right in front of the seller, you're getting a yes or no, and that's what I love about it. And a lot of people don't door knock anymore. You see it in like the solar kind of business models, and you see it with like Cox Cable or whatever your network provider is. Those kind of people still obviously go door to door, but it's kind of become extinct. Some people believe in the business model, some people don't. I'm not gonna say it's super easy if you wanna build out a team, but if you're just going out there, you wanna get your first deal, one, that really gets you out of your comfort zone, and two, you're getting right to the seller. You don't need to leave a voicemail, text message, you're getting a yes or no. And a lot of the times you might find people that nobody have ever touched simply because they're not on any list or anything like that. That can run you a few $100, if that, to be able to get your first deal. I'd say if you're in that maybe $100, $200 or less budget, door knocking is perfect. Leave those door hangers when you can, because people will call you back. I'm not gonna give a certain percentage because it depends on the market of how many people will call back, but it's probably very similar to direct mail campaigns, but you don't have to pay for postage. You're putting it right on their door, so that's a super big benefit for somebody on a pretty low budget that wants to get their first deal. And the second way, and this is how I got my first deal, is obviously driving for dollars. I know a lot of you have already heard about it, but stick with me because I'm gonna be breaking down exactly all the expenses that I would have incurred while driving for dollars. And this should be pretty similar to what you should incur if you're on a tight budget going into the wholesale real estate game. For me, I use the app Deal Machine. A lot of people, it's either hate or love it kind of thing. Some of my buddies hated it because you have to pay a fee. For me, it's all about convenience. But if you're on the really, really tight budget, I guess you don't need to. You could just kind of write how I started. To be totally honest, I would just write the addresses. That's simply because I didn't know about it, but it makes it a lot easier because you can easily, from Deal Machine, go ahead and export those right out and put it into a skip tracing software, whichever one that might be, and I'll go over that. But for me, I use Deal Machine. I'm currently still using Deal Machine because I still am driving for dollars. To be honest, some days it's good, some days it's not working as well, but They have really good customer support. I think I used the code TTP. That's not a plug or anything. It's just the code that I use. I think I got $10 off a month, but I added on the feature that ended up giving you or showing you the route that you have already driven, which is pretty cool. They literally will track so you don't go ahead and drive the same kind of streets, which is super helpful, and I think it's almost a must. So for me, I'd recommend it. It comes out to I think $59 a month, and I think if you get your first 14 days free because it's a trial. So for my recommendation, I know there's a couple codes out there, use TTP, and then I'd upgrade to that one little software add-on to it where you can see the driving routes, because it creates a very good system and flow to your driving for dollars model. And then a lot of you might be wondering, well, how do I contact the homeowners? So let's say you go home, pull up your deal machine, you export the deals in an Excel. There's obviously different ways you can skip trace it. In the beginning, I don't necessarily recommend it, but if you have no money and you really want to grind it out, I would try to use fastpeoplesearch.com. It's like a worse white pages. You're getting the worst of the worst numbers, but I'd say the response rate is pretty high. I mean, average person, I basically will just reverse address look them up. So I use a software called PropStream. I know I'm going a little bit all over the place, but PropStream really gives me any information I want to know on a homeowner. So I'll go look up that address. When I was on Fast People Search, I'll see who the owner is, and then I'll go reverse search the address on fastpeoplesearch.com. Find the owner. It might not be the first, fifth, second, or third, simply because they're absentee owners, which means they have other people living there, but they don't. So it might be on the second or third page, but usually I'll find the person. Not always will you find the right numbers, but usually between 3 and 5 numbers it'll give you, ranging from mobile to landline. I would just call all of them and leave a message and text anyone that you can, because you're trying to get it. Again, this is really low on a budget kind of thing to do, but that's how I started. I got my first 2 deals without skip tracing a single address. And the other kind of route you can obviously go is buying data. It's really good to find a skip tracing software that has credit bureau data, because it makes you get the best numbers. For me, I use Need to Skip. Again, I don't get paid for it, but it's at 15 cents a skip. I don't think it's the cheapest one on the market, but it's definitely not the most expensive. If you go on their website, it doesn't ever show 15, but I think I use the code Momentum, and then I get 15-cent skip tracing. So if you're driving for dollars, we can kind of do the math now. I think it comes a little bit, if you go 100 homes 6 days a week, which is kind of what I've been doing right now, and that's plenty for you to go ahead and cold call every single day. You should 100% get a deal, whether you're in a really competitive market or not in a competitive market. I think it comes out to a little bit over $300 for the entire month, 6 days a week. Well, I can do it right now. So it's 15 cents a skip trace times 100, so it's $15 a day times 6 days a week times 4. So it's $360 for the whole month for skip tracing. And to be honest, $360 plus your skip tracing, if you're just calling from your personal cell phone, I mean, you're spending a little bit over $400 to potentially get a deal, most likely above $5,000. So obviously that's a huge return. Imagine what $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 can change, how that can change your life, which is pretty crazy. It's a really low, high ROI business model, but it's not the most effective where you're reaching thousands of people. You're really only reaching a couple thousand in the end of the day, depending on how many homes you hit. So some of you might be wondering, if I don't want to call with my personal cell, where do I go? Obviously there's things you can pay for, like Mojo Dialer, All In Dialer, which are basically like automated systems online that you can basically use the internet to call these people with, and you can consistently change your numbers. So if you don't want your personal number out there, you don't have to. I don't recommend using Google Voice or anything like that, because your number will get blasted as spam. Those softwares, they switch your number every single month, where you just keep changing numbers, but they're all routed back to the same number. So if they miss a call and they call you back, it's one of those things where it's still gonna get routed back to you, so you never have to worry about it. It's a really cool thing. I think you can get it for maybe a little bit over $100 or a little less than $100 just for the entire single month. So that's pretty cheap in my opinion, but that's for somebody, as you could say in this video, balling on a budget. For me, how I started is I just used my personal home phone and I made calls. now my number comes up as spam a lot of the time, so I've had to develop and invest in softwares like that. But cold calling, you're trying to reach as many people as you can. I always recommend you leave texts, leave voicemails, even if you don't think it's the other person on the end of the line. You never know what could come from it. And then one final bonus tip for you guys: if you have a little bit more money you want to spend and you potentially want to hit people that really haven't been hit before, when you skip trace to a lot of these companies, they'll give you what's called a golden address, which is basically, I'll pretty much put it up on the screen here, where it'll give you back an address that wasn't really tracked, that like Deal Machine didn't find, and you basically can go ahead and mail that address, because that's only found if you buy the data. A lot of people don't buy the data, so you can go ahead and mail them with postcards. Some of the websites I'd recommend would be like Yellow Letter HQ, Turbo Letters. I think there's a couple other ones, but there's a lot of good places you can mail. It will run you a little bit more, but you'd probably mail them once every few months, and that might get you a deal. Again, that's not a proven method to go ahead and make money. It's a great way to expand your business model just from driving for dollars and cold calling. But if you're just really on the edge of how do I get started and I don't really have a lot of money to do it, well, here's two great methods: door knocking, driving for dollars. I told you kind of the expensive ways to do each and the cheap ways to do each. So if you guys did enjoy the video, I'd appreciate you hit the thumbs up if you found just a little bit of value. I do these just to kind of give back. I'm not even close to successful. I've only done a few deals myself, but I figured I'd try to reach the mass in terms of trying to teach people, potentially if they're desperate enough or if they're willing to go put out that work, to make an extra $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 in a matter of 30 days. So with that said, don't forget to subscribe, share the video for somebody that will find value, and I'll see you guys in the next one.